All right, I think we're live. I'm gonna go ahead and wait another minute, 30 seconds to see, to let people get here, and then we'll get started. For those of you who are joining, the only materials that you need for this are just square pieces of paper. I'm using a bunch of recycled paper, but if you have origami paper, that'll probably look a little bit nicer. But this is kind of my favorite way to recycle paper. So you just need square pieces of paper. All right, so few quick things. My name is Lara Braverman. I was a camper at CYJ Midwest for 4 years, and then I was a counselor at CYJ Midwest for 4 years. So thank you so much for having me. I love origami. It helped me focus better to do something with my hands. So I started after I learned how to make origami cranes. I just started doing it with old papers in school because it was something that wasn't disrupted and like let me do something with my hands so I could focus better. So I have piles and piles of origami cranes and stars and a bunch of other stuff all over my home in Chicago, or right now my apartment in St. Louis. Right now I am a PhD student at Washington University in St. Louis, so that's where I am right now. All right, so the first thing that we are going to be making today is origami hearts. These are really cute. Also, Mother's Day is coming up, so if you aren't able to go out and get a gift but you want to make one, these are really cute to add to cards and that kind of thing. So the first thing that you're going to do is actually this needs half a square. So take one of your square pieces of paper and just fold it in half like this. If you have scissors, you could always use scissors, although I think you get kind of like a cleaner tear or cut if you just tear it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this crease and I'm kind of sharpening this with my fingernail, and then I'm going to fold it back the other way along the same crease, my fingernail again, to make sure it's kind of extra sharp of a crease, and then you can just tear it along the crease, and it should be pretty easy to tear. So now I have the right kind of paper to start with to make the heart. So the first thing I'm going to do is fold it in half, and the side that I have facing you is what's going to be the inside of the heart. So I have this blank part as the inside, and then this part with the writing on it as the outside. So I'm just going to fold it in half, make a crease, and then open it up again. And then I'm going to fold it in half the other way, but I'm not going to make a full crease. I'm just kind of going to pinch it right in the middle, just so there's a little mark and I know where that middle is. And then I'm going to open it up. So you can see we have that little crease right there in the middle. So now what you're going to want to do is fold up the bottom to meet the crease. Some of these things are a lot easier to do on a flat surface, and unfortunately I don't have a hand camera. So I'm going to fold it and then bring it up to show you. So I brought that bottom part up to meet the middle and folded it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of the sides, and using this middle crease that we folded first, we're going to fold up the sides to meet that middle crease. And then once you have one side done, you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And they should meet at the top like that. So now I'm going to turn it so this side is facing you, the one that that has these flaps at the top, and you're actually going to fold these sides in to meet that little flap at the top right there. So I've just folded this side in to meet this little tab at the top, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. All right, so now one side looks like this, one side looks like this. Still working on this side with all of these tabs. Now you are going to fold, folding along this kind of middle line that you just folded to, you're going to fold the top into little points. So like that, and then in like this. You can now probably see that it's starting to look a little bit heart-like. So that's what this side looks like folded, and I'm going to do the same thing. This side is done, I'm going to do the same thing to this side. So now one side looks like this, and what's going to be the front looks like this. So now the very last step is just to fold these little points down to make the top of the heart more rounded. Go ahead and do that on both sides, try to get that as even as possible. And if you turn it around, you have a little heart. Since I have this other piece of paper, I'm going to go ahead and go through that one more time a little bit faster, since I know, especially if you're not watching this live, you can go back and look. So we have our rectangular piece of paper. I'm going to go ahead, fold it in half, open it back up, fold it in half the long way just to get that crease in the middle, and then unfold it. And now we're going to fold this bottom up to the middle. All right, there we go. Now we're going to take these sides and fold them up like this to meet the middle crease. I'm going to do that on both sides. All right, so we have something that looks like this on one side, this on the other. Working on this side that's open at the top, we're going to fold the sides in to meet this tab right here. So it now looks like this. Going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And now we are going to fold these two edges down and in. So that's one. And there's the other. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Both of the corners in. So now you have something that looks like this on that side and this on the other side. And now we're just going to fold these points down and in. I'm trying to keep that even on both sides. And then now if you turn it over, you have a little heart. Cute little decorations. You can make them out of any color paper, write little messages on them. So these are our origami warm-up, I guess, are these hearts. All right, so the next thing that we're going to be making is origami jumping frog. These are super fun because they'll actually like jump across the table. And this is it's a classic origami fold. So you can find a bunch of different models of these online. So we're going to start with a square piece of paper. And once again, this blank side will be the inside, and this side with the writing on it will end up being the outside of my frog. So the first thing I'm going to do is fold it in half, like this. And remember, the more accurate you are with your folds, so if you make sure that they're all meeting at the sides and the corners, the nicer your end product is going to look. So if it's your first time, it might not be something you want to worry about. Just want to get the hang of it, but if you want to make it look really nice, you want to make sure your folds are accurate. So now that I have that, I'm going to do the same thing just the other way. So folding it in half again. And this time we're not going to open it up again. We're going to keep it like this. So now what I'm going to do is, so we have this middle line where we creased it before. We're going to fold the top down to that middle line and crease it and unfold it. So I have that folded, just going to open it up again. And now we're also going to make 2 more creases diagonally. Once again, just taking the corners and moving it down to the middle line. I've creased it one way, I'm going to open it up and crease it the other way. All right, so what you can kind of see is it's kind of, these sides right here are kind of folding in a little bit, and so I'm going to kind of move with those folds and squeeze the top. So it should collapse into something that looks like this if you follow along the lines that you folded. So it should look like a triangle at the top, and then you have a square left at the bottom. All right, so now that you have this, you're going to take the bottom and fold it up to meet this crease right here, or the bottom of this triangle. Just taking the bottom and folded it up to meet right there. And now you're going to kind of lift up these flaps on the top and fold in the sides to meet the middle. Show you what I mean by that. After you're done, you want it to look like this. So I've kind of lifted up this flap at the top and folded the side in to meet the middle underneath that flap. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to fold this in to meet the middle. So now you should have something that looks like this. So a triangle, or maybe like a little house that you might draw. All right, and the next step is, once again, we're going to take the bottom and fold it up to meet this piece right here. And now you'll notice there's a lot of layers of paper at this point. So don't necessarily worry about getting these super sharp creases. You just want it folded to stay. And now we're going to make diagonal creases by taking these corners of the part you just folded up and folding it into the middle. Same thing on the other side. And then you're just creasing that and unfolding it. All right, so this next part is a little bit tricky to explain. So you'll notice that if I pull this part down, it kind of opens up a little bit. And so what you're going to want to do is kind of pull this part down while, hold on just a minute so I can figure out how best to explain this. Okay, I have a already folded model of this. I'll be back in just a second. Okay. All right, so you have this folded in half like this, and each of these flaps creased. So what you're actually going to want to do is kind of unfold this a little bit and keep this. All right, so what I am doing is I'm opening up this flap and kind of folding these side pieces out. And then I'm taking this part right here that we just made the creases in, pulling it back to the top, and then folding these down. So it should end up looking like this. I'm gonna put it back and then do that one more time because I know that's a little bit hard to explain. So basically this piece, that's this little part in the middle that's up here now, is going to stay up there, or it'll be back up there once you're done with the fold. What you're going to do is, holding the top, kind of unfold these two flaps, and then following along the folds you just made, push this back up to where it was, and then fold these points down to make this. All right, so that's kind of the one tricky part with this model. Now we're going to go ahead and fold the arms and legs. So I'm going to be taking these flaps at the top and folding them up. This is kind of a thing where you can use your judgment what looks right. So I'm going to fold this about that much. And then on the other side, I am going to do the same thing. It doesn't really matter how much you fold them up, but they look the best if they match. So now I have my arms, and I'm going to do the same thing with these flaps down here to make the legs. So I'm just going to fold it out like that, and then do the same thing on the other side. So now we have our legs. So now what you're going to do actually is take this whole model and fold it in half like this. So you kind of want the back legs to be up with the front legs. And then your last step is, this is the head is towards me. This is the back of the frog. I'm going to fold that down to meet the edge. Yeah, because there's so many layers, it's hard for me to show that fold without using the table, but I've just taken this and folded it down to meet the bottom edge. And so now you have your little frog, and it's gonna be a little bit hard for me to show this, but if you have it sitting on the table, if you press down on the back of it right here where you have that last fold, it should kind of jump across the table. So that's why these are called origami jumping frogs. They're very cute and fun. You can draw little eyes on yours if you want. So that is the origami jumping frog. All right, so for the last model that I have ready today, we're going to be making dinosaurs. So for those of you, when I did a kind of Zoom origami class with CYJ Midwest, we didn't quite get through this one at the end, so I figured I could do it now for more people to see. So once again, we're starting with a square piece of paper. For those of you who have made origami cranes, the start is very much the same. It also starts with a bird base. So what you're going to do is take your sheet of paper. Once again, this part with the writing on it is going to be the outside, and the blank side is going to be the inside. So you're going to fold it diagonally. And remember this, you're folding it so the inside of what you want to be the inside of your model is on the outside. So you're going to crease it diagonally both ways. So I've creased it one way, unfolded it, and now I'm going to crease it the other way. And unfold it, and now I'm going to flip the paper over. So these folds are going in towards me. We're going to make the two horizontal folds now with in the opposite direction of the diagonal folds. Go ahead and do one way, open it up, do the other way. Unfold it. So now we should have a piece of paper with all of these creases on it. And if you have it, so I'm just keeping it folded horizontally. If I take both these sides, you'll notice that if I push these corners into the middle, it kind of collapses like this, and I can flatten it into a square. So there's kind of two flaps on each side, and I have this square. Now what we're going to do is fold, so another thing about the square, you'll notice that it has one point that's completely closed and then one side that's open. So I have the open side pointing down. This is my open side. So what I'm going to do is take the top flap on this side and fold it into the middle. Like this. And now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Should have something like this. Now I'm going to flip it over and do the exact same thing. I'm going to fold these into the middle. And then I'm going to do it on the other side. So now I have something that looks like this. And then I'm also going to go ahead and take this top point and fold it along this line here. So just fold that down along there, crease it, and then unfold it. Oop. Flatten that back out. All right, so now what we're going to do is starting on one side, you're going to open up these folds. You're going to open up the flap from the bottom, and kind of, if you hold the top right above where you made that last crease, it makes it a little bit easier to open this up, and folding along the creases that you had already made, it should flatten out into a diamond like this. And now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and just fold that down the other way so we have that crease to help us out. I'm going to open up these flaps. While we're holding this from the side, we're going to open that up, fold along these creases that we already have, and now we have a diamond that looks the same on both sides. So now that we have this is called a bird base. So from here you could go on to make a crane, but we're going to make a dinosaur. So I'm going to take, oh, and one thing, it should have one side that's kind of open like this, and then another side that's open like this. So we're going to take one of these flaps at the top and fold it down. And now working from the side that has these two parts up here, I'm going to fold it horizontally, or, well, this is not horizontally, but fold it lengthwise along that crease that you should already have. So now we should have a triangle that looks like this. And once again, we have one side that has a bunch of flaps. This is a side that's going to end up being the dinosaur's tail and legs. And when we have another side, that's going to be the head. So I'm going to turn it over like this. And now we're going to make the head. So this is kind of a different fold than we've been doing before. It's called a reverse fold. So what you're going to do is kind of open this up a little bit and kind of pop this up. So I'm holding onto like the open section that I said was going to be the legs. And I'm taking this part that's going to be the neck and head, and I'm kind of popping it up, adjusting it so you can see this little point sticking out. And then once I have that where I want it, I'm going to crease it. So it should look the same on either side and have this point sticking up. Now I'm going to fold the head, and you make that in a very similar way. So I'm kind of going to open this up a little bit, and I'm just going to pop it out, and then kind of following along where that is. So I have where I popped it out, and then I'm going to fold it like this, and we have our little head. Once again, looks the same on both sides. And now this is just to make the nose less pointy. I'm just going to tape the tip and fold it in. So kind of tuck it under where the head is, and then flatten the head back out so it looks a little bit more dinosaur-y. And now if you're noticing like, oh, I think my head's too big, I think it's too small, you can just adjust this crease. I think mine's a little bit small, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger just by moving this crease down a little bit. And this is another one of those things that's totally up to your judgment. It's however you want it to look. So I wanted mine a little bigger. That looks good to me. All right, so the next step is to take this little point part. This is going to be the arms. So I'm kind of going to open the model up at the bottom. So kind of flatten this out into a diamond. And then holding it kind of right behind the neck. There's a little crease right there, holding it right behind there. I'm going to take this part and invert. That's the best way to show it. You're kind of going to fold it into an M shape. So I'm kind of pinching, I'm popping this crease, I'm inverting this crease, so it's going the other way. I'm going to pinch it to make something like that. And then you're going to flatten out the model. So now you have your little dinosaur arms. So right now we kind of have, I guess, like a mermaid dinosaur without legs. But we're going to go ahead and make the legs now. So the first step is just to take one side of this flap over here and fold it down like this. So now we have one leg, and then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So take that remaining flap and fold it down. At this point you have a ballerina dinosaur, but I'm going to go the rest of the steps and make the feet. All right, so now you're going to take one leg, and you're actually going to fold it towards the middle and back. Like that. So I folded this in towards the middle of the dinosaur and then back towards the tail. And then I'm going to take this part that's sticking out, I'm going to fold it back the opposite way. So I'm going to flip this over so you can kind of see this a little better and like lift up the other leg. I'm going to hold this here and fold the tip of this back the other way. So I've just folded this over like that. So now if I put everything back, you can see it looks like a little foot. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to take this leg, fold it in and back. And these are also folds that, well, they don't necessarily need to be super precise. You can have longer legs and smaller feet, or the other way around. It does look a little better, and it does stand up a little bit better if you just make the sides match. So keep an eye out for that. I'm trying to fold it about the same amount as I did the other leg. And then I'm going to take the foot and fold it back the other way. And now you can see my feet are kind of pointing different directions, so I'm just going to adjust it so they look pretty much even. All right, that's pretty good. And then now this very last step is pretty much completely optional, but they look a little bit nicer if you just fold the body in a little bit to make it thinner. So what I'm actually going to do is open up the body again and just take one of these sides and fold it in just a little bit. So something like that. So I'm holding it, this is the tail, I'm holding it by the arms, I've just folded the side in a little bit like that, and I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. It's not really important how much you fold it in, as long as it's even on both sides. So that looks roughly even to me. Now that I have that, I'm going to fold it back up, making sure to tuck those little flaps that I just folded in. And now you have your dinosaur. So I love these. The one thing about them, they will stand up, like even not bouncing on the tail, but sometimes they need you to like press them shut in a book first, or the legs will just splay out too much, especially because of the last fold you did. But if you keep them squished in a book for like an hour or so, it should stand up pretty nicely. Not doing a very good job of showing this, but these are really fun. I love making these, a little army of dinosaurs to keep on your desk or wherever you want. So there's one last paper folding thing that I wanted to do, except this one does not need squares of paper, it actually needs strips of paper. So I know some of you might not have that. This is just, you just use regular printer paper. If you have a paper cutter, that works great, but if not, you can just fold the paper like, oh, this has staples in it, give me a second. So you can just take any sheet of paper you want and just fold one of the sides over just a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit more than half an inch. I am not good at that and don't have a ruler, but about this much, about like a fingertip length, an adult fingertip, I guess. So about that much. And then you can either cut it with scissors or I'm just going to tear it. So the same way as I did before with the heart, where I'm just running my fingernail along it, I'm going to fold it the other way and do the exact same thing, run my fingernail along it to tear a strip. And so once you have a strip or two, I am going to show you how to make these little origami stars. And these, I would say more so than any of the other origami stuff that I've done, they really, your first couple are not going to look very good. My first dozen didn't look very good, but now that I've made so many, we have bags and bags of these that my mom likes to put in vases and stuff at home. Now that I've made hundreds, they end up looking pretty good, but if yours does not look like mine your very first time, mine didn't either. It took me a really long time to get these to look nice. So now that I have my strip of paper, once again, I always just like the writing part to be on the outside. That's going to be the outside, and the white side is going to be the inside. The first thing that you want to do is, starting at one end, you're going to loosely tie an overhand knot. So that's just a regular knot. Going to make a loop like this, and then tuck this end in. And when I say loosely, I'm not trying to make any creases. That's a big difference between this and a lot of the other origami that I've showed you. We want to get it kind of as tight as possible without making any creases. So this looks pretty good to me. And then this end right here, you can either tear it off or fold it in. I'm going to fold it in. Mine was a little bit longer than kind of the body of the knot. So I'm going to fold it in half first and then fold it in. And now what you're going to do with this tail is you're just going to follow along the sides of this kind of pentagon and fold it, just keep wrapping it around. So that's one. And then just following the shape of this, I'm going to keep wrapping it around. And I'll make a couple of these because it's a little bit difficult to see what exactly I'm doing. But if you just keep following the edges of this pentagon, and once again, you're trying really hard not to make creases. You kind of want it to still be rounded and not creased as best you can. And so now that we've gotten to the end, I'm going to take this piece and tuck it into this little pocket right here. Going to take this and tuck it in. It's hard to do when I'm not looking at it, but now that I've got both corners in, you can just slide it in. If yours is too long, you can cut it down a little bit, or you can fold it in half and tuck it in. That's totally off. I just realized that I made this the opposite way that I told you, so I have the writing on the inside, but that's okay. I'm just using recycled paper. So now that we have the pentagon all folded up, the part that makes it look like a star is you just take these corners and you kind of push in. It helps if you have fingernails, but you don't really need them. To make a point, I'm going to turn it and do it again right here. And this is the part that takes a while to get it to look right. It's really easy the first couple times you do it to squish it too much, and then it's not going to want to puff out like this when you're trying to make the star. Just keep practicing and you will get it. So now we have this little star. I'm going to go ahead and make another one. So first thing you do is tie a knot. So we have our loop. I'm going to take the end and tuck it in. Something that looks like this. Take this leftover bit, fold it in, and now we're going to take this part and start wrapping it, just having it follow the curve of the pentagon. If you notice that it stopped looking like a pentagon, you can just unwrap it a little bit. You probably missed a corner. So for example, instead of folding it here, let's say I slipped and started folding it down here instead, you're going to end up with something that kind of has this weird part like this that's sticking out. All you got to do is unfold it a little bit, find where you made the mistake, and then just keep going. So now, once again, I'm at this last little bit. Now it's a little bit too long to tuck in, so I'm just going to fold it in half. And then I'm going to tuck that into this little pocket here. Let's see if I can do this. Actually, no, you can't. You can't see it regardless. But I have tucked the corners into that little pocket, push it in all the way so it's smooth. I have my little pentagon again, and now I'm just going to pop in the corners all the way around. And I have my little star. All right, so that's all that I had prepared for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I will answer it the best I can. Also for these, a few of these I learned from tutorials online, so I can go ahead and put those in a comment as well. If you can't really tell what I'm doing for a step and you might want to look at another source, that's a great thing to do. So I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Thanks so much to CYJ and Jewish Camp at Home for letting me do this. I had a ton of fun and I hope you guys did too. All right, so see you soon.